You think she's acting distant, but if you notice she's afraid of falling too fast. This is not a story about rejection. This is not about mixed signals or games. This is about fear. A very specific kind of fear that appears when emotions grow faster than logic can control them. Friedrich Nietzsche once warned that human beings do not fear love itself. They fear what love does to their sense of power. When a woman begins to feel something real, something intense, something that threatens her emotional independence, her first instinct is not to move closer. It is to pull back. And if you misunderstand this moment, you lose her. If you understand it, you become unforgettable. Most men think distance means disinterest. They think silence means boredom. They think hesitation means uncertainty. But Nietzsche understood a deeper truth about human behavior. We do not run from what we dislike. We run from what has the power to change us. When a woman feels herself falling too fast, she feels exposed, vulnerable, out of control, and distance becomes her shield. This video is about decoding that moment, not with hope, not with fantasy, but with clarity. Because once you see it, you can never unsee it. Nietzsche believed that attraction is not about comfort, it is about tension. It is about the collision between desire and fear. When a woman starts to feel deeply connected to you, something dangerous happens inside her mind. She realizes that you matter. And the moment someone matters, they gain power. Power to disappoint, power to leave, power to hurt. This realization triggers a conflict. One part of her wants to move closer. Another part wants to regain control. Distance is the compromise. This is why her behavior changes suddenly, not gradually, not logically. One day she is open, warm, expressive. The next she becomes reserved, slower to reply, emotionally guarded. To the untrained eye, this looks like loss of interest. But Nietzsche would say this is the moment when desire becomes self-aware. And self-aware desire is afraid of itself. She starts watching herself more carefully, measuring her words, limiting her availability. Not because she cares less, but because she cares too much. Emotional intensity threatens her self-image. It threatens the identity she has built, independent, composed, in control. Falling too fast feels like weakness. And Nietzsche was clear, human beings fear appearing weak more than they fear being alone. So she pulls back to test herself, to see if the feeling fades, to see if she can regain emotional balance. This is not manipulation. This is self-preservation. The mistake most men make here is reacting emotionally. They chase, they seek reassurance, they ask for clarity, and in doing so, they confirm her fear that she is losing control. Pressure accelerates her retreat. Calm dissolves it. Nietzsche believed that the strongest individuals are those who do not demand certainty from others. They remain grounded even when outcomes are unclear. When you stay composed during her distance, you signal emotional strength. You show that her feelings do not control you, and paradoxically, this restores her sense of safety. Because now she feels drawn, not trapped. Another reason she becomes distant when falling too fast is because desire exposes contradictions. Nietzsche wrote that human beings are often divided against themselves. What they want emotionally often clashes with what they believe logically. She may want connection, intimacy, closeness, but her past experiences whisper warnings, memories of disappointment, of giving too much, of losing herself. When those memories resurface, distance becomes a defense. This is why her distance is often inconsistent. She disappears, then returns. She goes quiet, then suddenly engages deeply again. This push and pull is not confusion about you. It is a battle within herself. One side is drawn to the way you make her feel. The other side fears the consequences of surrendering to that feeling. Nietzsche would say that most people do not fear love, they fear transformation. Real attraction threatens to change her routines, her priorities, her emotional hierarchy. It threatens the life she knows, so she steps back to slow the process, to breathe, to regain psychological footing. Here is the critical insight most men miss: her distance is not asking you to do more. It is testing whether you can remain stable when she is not. If you collapse emotionally, seek validation, or try to pull her closer, you fail the test. But if you remain calm, purposeful, and emotionally contained, you pass. Because you demonstrate what Nietzsche called inner sovereignty, the ability to remain whole regardless of external uncertainty. She notices this silently. She observes how you respond to emotional absence, whether you become reactive or grounded, whether you lose direction or maintain self-respect. And when she sees strength instead of need, something shifts. Her fear eases. Her attraction deepens. Because now she senses that falling for you will not cost her control. It will expand it. This is why distance is not the end. It is the threshold. The moment where shallow attraction separates from something real. If you understand it, you stop chasing clarity. You stop seeking reassurance. You allow space without resentment. And in doing so, you become the calm center in her emotional storm. Nietzsche understood this paradox well. The more you can stand alone, the safer others feel standing with you. Nietzsche believed that attraction deepens not through persuasion but through contrast. And this brings us to a truth that is uncomfortable for most men to accept. When a woman pulls back because she feels herself falling too fast, she is not looking for reassurance. She is watching for restraint. She is observing whether you respect her distance without resentment, without punishment, without desperation. This is where most men unknowingly fail. Distance reveals character. When her messages slow down, when her warmth cools, when her presence becomes inconsistent, your response becomes louder than any words you could speak. Nietzsche wrote that human beings are most honest in moments of tension, not comfort. And this moment is tension. She wants to know, will you remain the same man without emotional reward? Or were you only stable when she was close? If you become colder in retaliation, she feels guilt and pressure. If you become clingy, she feels overwhelmed and powerful in a way that makes her uncomfortable. Both responses push her further away. What she is unconsciously searching for is emotional independence. A man who does not collapse when access is reduced. A man whose life does not pause when attention is withheld. This is why silence on your part, when done correctly, is not manipulation. It is alignment. You are matching her emotional pace without trying to control it. Nietzsche believed that true strength is the ability to resist the urge to react. When you do not rush to fill the space she creates, you allow her to feel without interference. And feelings, when uninterrupted, grow clearer. She starts to miss the emotional safety you provided without demanding. She begins to associate your calm with relief rather than pressure. Her fear begins to dissolve because she realizes something important. You are not trying to take something from her. You are simply present when she chooses to approach. This is where attraction matures. Because now she is not responding to your pursuit. She is responding to her own desire. And desire that arises freely is far more powerful than desire that is chased. Nietzsche also understood that fear often disguises itself as logic. When she pulls away, she may tell herself stories, that she needs space, that she is too busy, that things are moving too fast. These explanations feel rational, but they are emotional defenses. They are attempts to slow something she feels accelerating inside her. This is why arguing with her logic never works. Explaining your intentions, clarifying your feelings, asking her to trust you more. These actions may seem reasonable, but they ignore the deeper issue. Her fear is not about understanding you. It is about managing herself. When you step back without bitterness, you give her the one thing fear cannot survive without: time. Time to realize that the connection does not disappear when she pauses. Time to notice that her emotions remain even when she tries to suppress them. Nietzsche believed that what returns after distance is stronger than what never left. She begins to feel the absence of your presence in subtle ways. Not because you vanished, but because you did not chase. She notices the silence where reassurance used to be. And instead of feeling relief, she feels curiosity, then longing, then clarity. This is the moment when her distance starts to reverse, not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually. A message, a question, an emotional opening. These are signals, not tests. They are signs that her fear is loosening its grip. If you respond calmly without punishment or excitement, you reinforce safety. You show that closeness is welcome, but not required for your stability. Nietzsche would call this mastery of self, and self-mastery is deeply attractive because it removes the burden of emotional management from her shoulders. There is a final layer to this dynamic that Nietzsche understood deeply. People are drawn to those who embody direction. When a woman feels herself falling too fast, part of her fear comes from uncertainty about where this is going. Not because she doubts you, but because she doubts her ability to control the outcome. When you continue living fully, pursuing your work, your discipline, your purpose, you signal trajectory. You show that connection with you does not mean emotional chaos or loss of structure. It means integration into something solid. This is why waiting passively is not the same as standing firmly. You are not freezing your life until she returns. You are moving forward regardless. And this movement is what reassures her subconsciously. Nietzsche believed that people trust those who are going somewhere. Direction creates gravity. As she watches you remain unchanged by distance, something shifts inside her. Her fear of falling too fast transforms into curiosity about falling at all. She realizes that closeness with you does not threaten her identity. It challenges it, in a way that feels expansive, not consuming. This is when she begins to close the distance herself. Not because you pulled her back, but because she no longer needs to protect herself from the intensity she feels. And when she returns, it is not with uncertainty. It is with intention. Nietzsche would say that this is the moment when attraction stops being reactive and becomes chosen. When fear no longer leads and desire steps forward willingly. Nietzsche believed that the deepest connections are not formed through force, persuasion, or emotional bargaining, but through the quiet recognition of strength. When a woman pulls back because she is afraid of falling too fast, the final test is not how you handle her absence. It is how you handle her return. When she begins to move closer again, her behavior will not be dramatic. It will be subtle, a warmer tone, longer messages. A question that invites depth instead of small talk. Nietzsche would say that this is the moment when instinct overcomes fear. And how you respond here determines whether attraction stabilizes or collapses. Many men make the mistake of overcorrecting. They respond with intensity, relief, or emotional reward. They lean in too fast, trying to secure what they believe they almost lost. But this reintroduces the very pressure that caused her to retreat in the first place. Fear does not disappear all at once. It loosens gradually, and if you rush it, it tightens again. The correct response is composure. You welcome her presence without attachment. You engage without interrogating. You remain open without seeking reassurance. Nietzsche believed that power lies in the ability to enjoy something without clinging to it. When she feels that closeness with you does not trap her, she relaxes. And when she relaxes, she opens. She starts sharing more freely. Not because she owes you clarity, but because she feels safe enough to give it. Her distance fades naturally. Her warmth becomes consistent. And this time it is not driven by impulse, but by choice. Because now she knows that falling for you will not cost her control. It will deepen it. At the deepest level, what she is responding to is not your actions, but your internal state. Nietzsche warned that people sense insecurity long before they see behavior. When you are centered, self-directed, and emotionally sovereign, it creates a psychological environment where fear cannot dominate. She may never tell you that she was afraid of falling too fast. She may never admit that her distance was driven by intensity rather than disinterest. But you will feel the shift. The effort becomes mutual. The connection becomes grounded. The push and pull disappears. This is the quiet ending Nietzsche often spoke of, not dramatic victory, but inner alignment, where you no longer need certainty to remain steady, where attraction flows not because you chase it, but because you allow it to grow at its own pace. If she is acting distant, do not rush to label it as loss. Do not panic. Observe. Understand. Distance is not always retreat. Sometimes it is restraint. Sometimes it is fear disguised as control. And sometimes it is the mind slowing the heart because it feels too much too soon. Nietzsche taught that the strongest position is not pursuit, but presence. Not demand, but direction. When you embody this, you become the one place where emotion feels safe instead of overwhelming. And if she returns, she does so not because you convinced her, but because she chose you. Not out of fear, but out of clarity. And that kind of connection is never accidental.